I said I went to do it but got distracted and I didn't. He decided to teach me a lesson by speeding the car up and then slamming the brakes on and stopped before hitting the car in front of us, stopped at the lights. Then turned to me and said I was going to smash into them, but I didn't. Yeah, he didn't last long after that. It was weird and looking back it didn't make sense what he said, but it scared the shit out of me at the time. I called her pretty. She did not like this. She got quite angry. Then tweeted something to the tune of "Every girl deserves to be called beautiful every day." Pretty psycho. Excuse me? Clearly she's beautiful psycho. She broke every bit of glass, plate, window, mirror in our house. Took a knife to the sofa and smashed in the TV. Spent the night driving around drunk looking for me. I was 2 blocks away at my best amigo's house. Located me. Physically assaulted me in front of my friends. And then drove to her parents' house. Grabbed her father's hunting shotgun. And told her parents she was going to blow her head off. She spent 2 weeks in a locked ward and was diagnosed with adult onset schizophrenia. She was legitimately crazy. She thought I had to pay for everything when her friends tagged along. Made her friends hate me and we broke up later. Just curious. Did her friends end up hating you because she told them you weren't paying? Or because she gave them other reasons? Because if those are the type of friends that think they are entitled to a free ride, you're well rid of the entire lot of them. It was because I refused to pay for them and argued that I wouldn't at all. Then she argued me that I should have paid it for them. So her friends hated me and made everything worse. My ex said if I was locking the bathroom door, I was probably hiding something from him. And a couple of times he pretended to break up with me to see my reaction. When I cried he laughed at me and said he was glad I cared about him. What a mature 30-year-old man. I'm glad he is not a part of my life anymore. Of course you are hiding something. Bodily functions. Which are 100% normal to hide. We went to an amusement park and she demanded we rode the same ride 4 times in a row and would throw a fit anytime I suggested anything else. The line for that ride was over 2 hours each time and we basically waited in lines for the whole day. I thanked her for advice that she had given me by texting thanks for the advice and she flipped the duck out. Asking me why I always have to be so sarcastic and passive aggressive. She could not believe that I legitimately thought it was thankful. Don't remember what it was anymore though. This is precisely the same red flag I just posted about. Except in a somewhat different form. Same underlying issue though, people constantly discovering problems that don't actually exist. As a general rule, people who don't trust others and very trustworthy themselves. Man. I was such a dumbass. So many warning signs. She used to disappear and not come home at night. Not answer her phone. etc. Then she got pregnant and broke the news by telling me that she flushed her birth control. I respect a woman's right to choose. So now I have a lovely 12-year-old daughter. I still didn't leave. When my daughter was born, she started doing the same thing again. Drinking, screaming, etc. I broke up with her and we started sharing our daughter 1/2 and 1/2. A bit later I transferred to university and stupidly decided to give it one more shot. After living at uni with her and our daughter, I found out all of her trips back home were to have an affair. I was like, what the duck? I am in college. Work 2 jobs. Take care of the baby. You know. So I noped out. I have had full-time custody of my daughter for 10 years. And her craziness gave me the best gift I have ever received. Not really a relationship, but a first date. I was 19 and a junior in college at the time. One of my TAs asked me out. I believed he was 3 years older than I. He picked me up at my apartment and I let him in while I finished getting ready. He started telling me how he could teach me so much about the world and life in general and how I had so much to learn. Blah. 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 Basically, he was saying I was his inferior but he'd be happy to teach me until I was more at his level. It was really a WTF moment. Why someone would think the way to a girl's heart was to disparage her intelligence and tell her how superior you were. I showed him to the door and locked it behind him. I was seriously waiting for him to duck with my final grade. But he didn't. Which is good because I would have rained some sheet down on his stupid head. Tried to run me over with my own car. In her mind it was my fault though. Okay. I'll bite. Why did she feel justified in doing that? She thought anything she did while she was upset didn't count. For the most part that took the form of screaming at me over stupid things. It got to a point where I ignored the screaming. Anyway. She injured her shoulder skiing one day. 2 doctors. One of whom was my dad. And one physio told her that there wasn't anything wrong with it. I'm not a doctor so I assumed 3 opinions meant it was fine. A year later her shoulder still hurt so she went to another physio who determined she had a torn rotator cuff. She underwent treatment but after a few sessions she still had pain. After one of these sessions she was supposed to pick me up in my car because her car was in for service that day. Traffic on the way was worse than she expected which upset her. And her shoulder pain was also my fault because I didn't tell her to get a 4th opinion right away. So you see now that I deserve to die. My second comment on this thread. Met a guy at a club. We kissed and I gave him my number. Started feeling bad as the night progressed so went home. Ended up really sick with gastro. The one where you finally get to sleep only to wake up. Vomit. Wish for death then pass out again. It was a 24-hour bug in total. In that time he had left 30 missed calls and messages on my phone. I did not arrange a date with him. Or call him back. I had only met him the night before. Not even dating but going out on a few dates and over text message goes hey I just wanted you to know that I've had many past partners. I've probably slept with at least 30 guys. Now I don't judge and I don't care so I replied with hey that's cool. It doesn't bother me. She flips and goes off I don't give a duck what you think. I wasn't asking permission from you. Why then do you bring it up? I don't give a duck. Edit. By the way we were 16 years old and still in high school at this point. I was 15. I've got a recent one. We'd only been talking for a few days. So at this point there is no commitment. Or anything really. Beyond a confirmed mutual interest. Immediately I noticed she was getting a bit clingy. In that she wanted to talk on the phone several times a day. So I'm already in establishing boundaries mode right off the bat. Anyway. I was walking home from the store. It had just started raining. And my phone battery was almost dead. I had just enough charge left to listen to an audiobook. But not enough for a phone call. This is when she calls me. I begin to explain that I'm walking in the rain and my battery's dead. And that I'll call her when I get home. I didn't get to finish the sentence. Because she starts in with, look if you don't want to talk to me. Just say it and quit wasting my time. Oh. No you ducking didn't just lay a guilt trip on me for being soaking wet and miserable on the side of the road with a dead battery. I shot back with, don't you even start that sheet with me or I'll never speak to your ass again. She hung up. That sealed the deal. My battery did in fact die on the way home. I log into Facebook and there's already 3 messages from her. The first one is angry. The next one is apologetic. And the third one is promising never to start drama again. I just blocked her. I check the phone and there's a bunch of similar texts. She kept texting for a few days after that and eventually gave up. I didn't read any of them. Word to the wise, if there are 2 ways to interpret your motives. And someone always chooses the interpretation that leads to drama. Get the duck away. There was no winning in that situation. And that's how it always goes with people like that. If you're the trusting sort like me, the tendency is to take their complaints at face value and try to make things better the next time. It will never happen. I wasted a lot of time on people like that. And I was pretty proud of myself for finally recognizing those head games on site and putting a stop to it immediately. Them going off on a waiter did it. Them getting off on a waiter would also do it. Told me she couldn't have a baby because something was wrong with her. I thought, oh well, that sucks, but whatever. Constantly asking me about baby related stuff and how she really wants a baby even though she told me she can't. Started to wonder what was up at this point. Went on holiday for a month. Came back and was still dating her and talking constantly, but she had blocked me on Facebook. Getting massive red flags at this point. Started acting altogether really weird. Asked her what was going on and that I just wanted her to be honest. Turned out she was pregnant and is now a single mother. Think I dodged a bullet. She threw a Dundee at my plasma TV when I was just trying to have a nice dinner party with my co-workers. SMH. Wow, that must have been like $200. After our third date he brought up getting married. When I told him I'm not against it, but I feel like I should date the person for a few years first, he didn't understand why I'd want to wait so long. Disney princesses don't wait that long. Why should you? In fairness, Disney princesses have usually had a near-death experience shortly before being proposed to. That kind of thing can really change your perspective. Also, the dude doing the proposing tends to be the only eligible bachelor in the kingdom. So why put it off, I guess? He went through the messages on my phone twice. Each time was after a fight because he knew I would have ranted to my friend about it. Then he tried starting a fight about what he read. Got harassed by him for 3 months after I ended it. Only stopped when I had to get a police officer to go tell him he's not to be anywhere near me anymore or contact me. Found out his first girlfriend got a restraining order against him for the same reasons. Especially frightening when you take into account we were only 17. My ex started a rumor at my college that I'm pregnant. Might as well just get knocked up since everyone already thinks I am. Then she stared at me expectantly. She wasn't joking. Accusing me of trying to poison him by putting a cockroach in his coffee. What? You were out of arsenic or something? No. OP was out of the old lace. Her complete inability to leave money in a checking account. She had a frightening compulsion to spend more than we had. I kept thinking that she would settle down once we had a few items for our apartment. After 6 or 7 years I finally realized we could never dig out of the debt we had and we broke up. I took $10,000 in credit card debt to pay off the guilt I felt for leaving her and lived in a shack to save up money. Within a year or so I had paid off the bills and started watching my bank account grow and grow. It became a game for me and I still kept living like a pauper. By the time I met somebody else and proposed, I had so much money that my new wife yelled at me that it was not making interest in my checking account. She was right. But it still broke my heart to see my checking account game get reset. Oh. And we celebrated 17 years of marriage this year. She's a keeper. We were not in a relationship. Thank God. But after the first date I had a weird feeling. 2 red flags stood out. He was slightly irritated to learn I was in my 30s even though he was 40. As in was irritated I was not younger. I look much younger than I am. Not angry, irritated, but you could tell he was slightly disappointed. Then when I mentioned how I used to be incredibly gullible and naive, he took quite an interest in that. Too much of an interest. So that night after I got home I googled him but couldn't find anything. Talked to my upstairs neighbor about him and showed her a picture. Lucky for me she knew who he was because he went to school with her ex-husband. Turns out I couldn't find him because he gave me a fake last name. Looked him up using the correct name and what I found made me sick to my stomach. Not only was he almost 10 years older than what he told me, but he also had 1 conviction and 2 arrests for gross sexual imposition of a minor. Read the documents and their physical description matched mine to a T. Hair type. Body type. Act. Noped out of that situation really ducking quick and told him never to contact me again. To his credit he never did. Full stop. We hung out one time with mutual friends and hit it off. Exchanged numbers. Planned to get together later that week. She showed up at my place of employment 2 days later telling everyone she was my girlfriend, asking for me so we could hang out around the office. I should mention I am a police officer. I dated a girl who was the second girl I had ever been with. I found out she was kind of nuts after she showed me that she liked to make her cat do backflips by physically flipping her poor cat upside down. So I stopped seeing her, and I later found out she had posted stories about us on her online journal, none of which were true stories. Then I found out she was held by an alligator in Florida because she wanted to go skinny dipping in a pond in the middle of the night.